everyone. I need to sound fat. It's my first time speaking, Furkan. I'll give you the music until the broadcast starts. 2 monitors aren't enough. I need a third one, but my desk is too small for the third one. In the meantime, I'm trying to make sure the sound is good until someone confirms me. I'll share a Discord, our Discord channel for those who ask questions. Okay, laughs. Thank you, Aaron. Okay, I just opened it. I'll create a... Here is the link. Actually, let me do this. I'll show our Discord channel directly from here. And I'll show a little bit of the Discord channel. I'll introduce you, actually. If you come here, just a minute. I'll take the broadcast to the left. Yilmaz Eren, you're welcome too. Thank you. He approved it too. He's my colleague. He came to support me. Thank you very much for listening. More precisely, he's my old colleague. Of course, we still keep in touch. Murat also wrote here that you can't understand what you're saying over the music. Anyway, you know, I turn off the music after the broadcast starts. Then I start talking. I just talked. Now here's our Discord channel. There's a link to it. Just a second. Let me show you our own channel. They asked me on LinkedIn. I sent a message from LinkedIn to the friends who asked, so I actually put it here. Where can I put it more easily? I don't know an accessible place. Just view our channel. For example, let me show it like this. Look over there. There is a Discord link over there. When you first opened the channel, we had 383 subscribers in 9 videos. That's very good. I'll even show you the thing live from there. So it was watched a lot. In total, everyone who watched our videos, it actually shows the thing directly. Total viewership. Where does it say that? When you click on analytics. Look. It says 4,800 views in the last 28 days, but it's been 10 days or so since we started actively posting videos. We were watched for 550 hours. That's very good. Thank you very much. 4,008 views plus 367 subscribers. A few friends had already subscribed before we put the video up. It shows that right there, for example, when I first changed the name of the channel. And then one since I started posting videos, so it's increased a lot. That's good. Well, thank you. You know, if you continue to spread it, I will continue the content as much as possible. Now, by the way, friends on Discord should seal Discord when they are not asking questions. When they are going to ask questions, they will seal YouTube and open Discord so that I can contact them directly on Discord. Now, there is a Discord link here. I'll put this link here and put this invitation link here. I'll post our chat. I'll even pin it. I'll pin it from there. Now let me show you Discord again from here. Now here, for example, we have a few general conversation places here, you know, more general. We did a VHDL question and answer section. Here, everyone can be so difficult, from the simplest to the most difficult, that I may not be able to answer. Other friends may not be able to answer either. We will do something for them anyway, you know. We will research and return. But for example, as the questions are answered, I click on it. Here, for example, Zia asked a question and we clicked on it, so we answered it. There is a section called Technical Suggestions, General Culture Suggestions. Here, for example, there is a very nice interview between Celal Şengör and Canlıdaş Tolga Işık. This one, let me share it here because it says it very well. Ataturk was actually, by asking questions, we always write problem solver on CVs. Actually, before problem solver, we need to be a question soldier. We need to be able to ask questions. And then we need to be able to actually see the problem first. So it's like this. We need to see the problem and then ask questions. After that, problem solving is actually 40% of the job. 60% starts from being able to see the problem and ask the right questions. Let me fix this too. I highly recommend you to watch this video. In fact, Ataturk, our ancestor who founded this country. In fact, Celal Şengör explains how he does these things with very good examples. I've watched it a couple of times. Every time I watch it, I get goosebumps. It's very good. I recommend it. I recommend the books here, the books written by Ataturk himself. He says, he starts with the Nutuk. He lists 5 or 6 books. If you read them, it's actually just, I don't think he's the leader of the century. I think he's the leader of several centuries. He is a person far ahead of his time. You can see his things too, from his point of view. There are many who have not read Nutuk. I have already recommended it. You should definitely read Nutuk. But after Nutuk, there are a few other books written by Ataturk. There are books written in the name of Ataturk. Celal Hoca also recommends them here. I'll do this. I recommend that you watch this video a lot, and in the light of these, I suggest you go to other sources, because the point of this thing and the point of the channel, this is the purpose of these trainings. Asking questions first. You ask questions. Then of course, not relevant questions. Relevant. After that, for example, you attended a training. You attended a training or a lecture. You attended a workshop at the university. Asking the right questions there. Taking the necessary notes. Research yourself. Or you need to get the right information from the instructor as much as possible. In fact, the basis of everything starts from there. So I recommend this resource. Here we have, for example, recommendations for expats. And then everything else, we've divided it into a few parts like this. But you need something to join this channel. Look here, for example, there are mods. Those yellow friends are the mods. Fatih, Emirhan, Mehmet, these are the ones who asked questions and gave such support in previous videos. At the same time, Serhat and Musa, they have been there from the very beginning, since the first video. Here. But with your real name. Real name, not necessarily surname. If you have a name, it's better if you join here. Look, for example, a friend who joined also went offline. There are 20 of us in total. We will do question and answer here anyway. At the same time, we will also stop me in class and ask questions. Anyway, we will do direct question and answer for 1 hour a week. I'll be looking at the gang there. You can also write gang. It would be even better if you join here and ask out loud. We can communicate even better. Voice communication is much, much better than written communication. For example, without separating these channels, yesterday a friend of ours said, for example, let's divide the channels into channels like text channels. He said it would be better that way. At first, in the general conversation, sometimes we were doing something like this. For example, we were asking those who asked the question, technical question. Here I also throw some things to the general public. For example, ESML's last one. For example, I shared this thing. I listen to Mozart's classical music when I work. It's a very beautiful valuation. I played it today, for example. I also post such general suggestions. For example, I posted a job advertisement of ESML. This is already public. You can't access links to something from the inside, but sometimes it opens. For example, you don't see it. You want to apply for a job. You are 5 or 6 days late and there are 250 or 300 people in front of you for a position. As soon as I see such suggestions, I will try to throw useful things here. So this Discord channel will actually do something. We will use it actively. The only requirement is to have a name, to join with a name, not a nickname, because we will do it in the future. For example, now a friend has joined SpaceJump. For example, SpaceJump will change it. I would ask him a name because, when you ask a question here, a name, or here's what we'll do in the future. We'll let it settle a little bit more, these lessons, and question and answer. Well, we will do such demo boards with a raffle demo board to friends among the participants of a live broadcast. Demo board, 2 demo boards, I will take them and I will try to do it. I will provide them from Turkey here, thanks to the support of Kovantek'in founder Anıl Hoca. I have a very nice timing training from Anıl Hoca. He should be a professor at Kocaeli University. He came to Aselsan then. He gave us such a beautiful, actually this is like what I did. Of course, they came by agreement with Aselsan. For example, foreign trainings are also very good. I will recommend foreign trainings. Some of them are free. There are records on the internet. Some of them are paid. But, in the end, there is something like this. No matter how good your English is, for example, when I was working with Aselsan at that time, I had full English education. We attended trainings and so on. But for example, living and working abroad and not spending too many 24 hours of your life in that way. You cannot spend 24 hours anyway, for example, 8 hours of work or 2 hours plus your shopping outside, etc. English does not come to a certain level very easily. Congratulations to those who can do it. I mean, they watch a lot of TV series and movies, they go to Erasmus with their foreign friends, they constantly talk to the people they meet there, etc. There are those who can do it somehow. It is not impossible to do it, but it is difficult. For example, my English was not that good. You know the technical terms in daily life, but most of the things in daily life do not fit. You cannot think in full English, you can't think in English very much. You do something like this, first you think in Turkish, you translate it in your head, etc. After a point you start to think in English. For example, when Anıl Hoca came to us, Anıl Hoca came to us in Turkish, and in such a comfortable way. I mean, it was not too much, planning was not so cramped. That is timing analysis. At that time we discussed the details of Quartz's timing analyzers in such a nice way, for example, very well. He was very useful to me at that time, 2016 or 2015. I don't remember the exact year now. Maybe it may be later or it may be earlier. So, for example, I think it is a chance for all of us that this training is live like this, and that there is 1 hour of lecture and 1 hour of question and answer per week. It is a chance for me, it is a chance for you, it is a chance for all of us. We will learn what we do not know. We will correct what we know wrong. If you become a member of Discord, you can't give it a voice directly from here. For example, from YouTube, I can't right-click on someone in the chat there and say, give microphone. They usually do this with Discord, as far as I understand. If there is a better suggestion again, I will change it. Yeah, for example, I'm using this OBS Studio right now. And he doesn't see it directly like that anyway, you know? Let me move OBS Studio to the left side like this. I can see the chat window, but I haven't found it yet to give voice directly from there. So now via Discord, let's continue with this question and answer thing. It needs to do something for a few weeks anyway. It needs to settle down. In the meantime, I will also start a timer here because the class has started now, because let's not go to an hour anymore. From here, I'll turn on my timer for 59 minutes. I'll put it over there. I don't need you to see it. I'll put it over there. Now I'm opening the thing again from OBS Studio. I'm giving myself to the camera. I think I can make myself a little bit bigger. Let me do it now. So that's actually the introduction. About the curriculum, I wrote it here. Let me show it directly from there. I actually determined the first 5 or 6 weeks in my head. In the first introduction, I said something like course content, educational content. First of all, let me tell you that I have one thing you see on the left. I opened it like this. I put the image I took from the link. A lot of people participated in this. Thank you. This motivated me a lot. In fact, the students motivated me more for me to open this channel, to do training like this, or to share my expat experiences. Thank you to the students. Most of them are moderators at the moment, 7 or 8 of them. Lots of questions came, answers came. I tried to answer questions via LinkedIn. So we said that in the light of the recent requests, I wanted to do the following survey. Expats checks will continue 1 hour a week. I will try to keep it going. However, I said that there is a demand for live and free FCE training, especially from students and new engineers, and I look forward to your valuable participation in the survey. 189 people voted. By the way, when I click here, I can also see who voted. Those who voted are seriously interested in this issue. For example, software developer friends, for example, 10 people said no because they are not interested. For example, I would like to thank them. I mean, it is already unrealistic for this to be a full yes. Then we are software developers. Most of the experiences like this, that is, software developers of years, said that they would not want to watch them. 6% said that they did not want to watch them. But the remaining 94%, 48% said yes. Something like I will try to participate. I mean, I want to come in the sense that you will necessarily participate. Here I will record all these training contents. I will even do the thing that is, I will record it. And or when you pay a certain fee like this, they train them very well like this. They process them. I will translate 5 or 6 different translations from Turkish. You know, I will only shoot English directly, by the way, but any question is the answer of education. It's a re-talking and so on, you know, frankly, I don't spend any extra time, and I don't spend any extra time directly on this content. Weekly lessons in question and answers. For example, in question and answer, if EY has some problems, different voices, etc., I will try it, but at least I will do it in a few weeks. When I shared this, for example, I shared it in Turkish. I have Italian, Spanish friends here, or from other countries in Europe. They say that we have very little content in English. We have a lot of people who want to learn in their mother tongue. For example, they are in Italy, they don't come. They want to work in their own country in Europe. They want to work in Spain, I don't know, France, I don't know, other countries. They want to learn basic languages, for example. We have a lot of people coming from Turkey or from India. We also receive a lot from South America, so I will put them all in Spanish and Portuguese. Let the beneficiary benefit, that is, as much as they can benefit. You know, my main motivation is for Turkish and Turkish friends, new engineers and students to benefit from them. But let me also say this. Let me open the syllabus here. Just a second. I already wrote it on YouTube. I put it on the YouTube channel, but excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm going to go down there now. Something like this. Pardon me. Today, by the way, we have not 1 hour but 2 hours. I combined 2 lessons today. So this week one says, see here. So we can do a little bit of question and answer. In class, you can take it from the question and answer. You know, we can extend this first lesson a little bit because suddenly I explained our infrastructure and so on. Discord is like that. We have a message thing like this board. Burak Dursun, my friend in Daisley, I'll call him Burak Dursun directly because they confuse him with the other Burak Dursun. His time in Denizli, we had acquired it like this. I had seen it from him. The child liked to explain by drawing, like in Skype Teams meetings and stuff like that. I had one like this. This is also in the infrastructure. So when this happens, you can also draw directly on the screen like this. For example, there is a program called what is called over something. I am on a slide or on a video that we opened from YouTube of any video at work. What is the name of the program? 1 second. Epic Penny, for example. This was free if I remember correctly. For example, here at the top left like this, look at the output. For example, let me move it a little bit like this. Right now you can draw directly with this like this. Let's make it yellow, not black. Let's delete it. You can draw directly like this from him, and then you can make the tip smaller like this. We'll draw things like this. For example, we'll draw flip-flops. We'll draw flip-flops like this. By the way, you can also draw with the mouse. Here you have the direct pen. Here with this pen. I can go back to Windows. I can change friendly things like this. So there's a lot of stuff. But you know, the most basic thing is to draw Gene directly like this. For example, first let me clean it with a pencil from here. Of course, there are also better quality ones like these, but mine is like this. I bought it from a brand called Vacom. The base version, so you can draw like this, for example, beautifully like this. It's like a pen, otherwise, because when you draw with the mouse, for example, when you draw with the mouse, you can write like this, you can write like this, etc. More like a pen, so with the mouse, you know, it's a little difficult to mimic it. But this program is nice. Let me show you a few things while introducing it. Let's get out now. Let's go back to this. Let me throw it to the left like this. There is a program like this, and this is this. Is it pronounced Vacom? I read Vacom directly, frankly. Here too, this is how a 3-month trial version comes out of it. In this one, for example, this is like this, something like this, you know, something like Inkspace or something like a better version of Paint. From here, for example, I made some settings of this. For example, right now. For example, I will put the registers like this. After that, I will go to the pen, for example. I will come to this and that. I will say to this pen, and then I'm gonna go over there again. In order to explain what we can do, I say like this. I will write Luti on this, for example, blah, 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 blah. Actually, there is a board in the back. You can see it from my camera. I don't have anything that can zoom in on him right now. My camera is not good. So I will try to buy a microphone. I like the nice microphone of Rode. So as it is watched, I'll increase the channel stuff. Technical infrastructure. Let's clean this up now. Now let's talk about this Ufredat and get to the point. I said core details over there. I said week 1. I said about 9 o'clock in the morning today. So it's 10 o'clock Turkey time, but we were a little late. We were dealing with some infrastructure, etc. What I'm going to talk about today is the basic content of the course. 8 major steps of FPGA flow, including design, verification, and regression. Then I wrote the rough content of this. Here's the introduction for 5 minutes. Then 15 minutes about the curriculum for the first 20 minutes. Then it starts at 23 minutes of this. By the way, you will be able to select it like this from YouTube from the bottom. As soon as the video is recorded, you can start directly from 20, for example, when you want to watch it again. Or you can go directly to the question and answer at the 50th minute. It is up to your taste. And then a minute of closure. Now this is the first lesson, but today, and now that we're gathered, we're going to do it. We will also try the question and answer part. Let's try both the infrastructure and let's see if we can synchronize with friends from Discord. After all, they should turn off the sound here and ask me from there. Since I give the sound of the desktop here, Discord sound should come automatically. We will try it here. Then, second lesson, look over there again. Here it is today at 11 o'clock. Maybe we'll take a 5-minute break. At 11 o'clock, like 15:55, we'll try a question and answer. The first 2 lessons of today's lesson, week 1, which is actually today, June 9th. Week 2 is next week. I've been asked a lot about this, so I think a content about this will be very useful. Let's learn VHDL. Let's learn Verilog. Let's learn SystemVerilog. Let's learn SystemVerilog. Now this is actually related to what you will do in the future. Too many variables. If you are interested, knowing the system data, you already need to know the SystemVerilog. But if the company you work for, if only open source resources can be used, for example, you will not be able to pay a 50,000 euros and get Questa in mixed language. There are prices, and prices are also changing. I am only doing something right now. So you have a SystemVerilog that is VHDL or Verilog design. You will verify it with UVM with SystemVerilog, for example. Then I don't know much about other tools because I always use QuestASIM or Active HDL, but I will make a list of them. In that case, for example, if you do not have a mixed language verification facility, then open source VHDL. Of course, UVM is based on VHDL. Of course, it's not as complex as UVM, and it doesn't offer a detailed quality verification thing. They claim it does, but it doesn't, because it has difficulties, but it's only based on VHDL. So you can use UVVM, OSVVM, and you can do it with a GHDL, for example. So you can do it with a free simulator. So I'm going to do something like this. I'm going to separate it like this, according to the constraints. And I'm going to give you a simple VHDL Verilog and SystemVerilog. Basically, I will prepare a tab like this with such pros and cons.
Subtitle.
What capabilities it has and what capabilities it doesn't have is that VHDL is more of a strictly typed language. Verilog is more of a C-based language. It is not more strict, but strict, unstrict, or unstrict. I guess it would be unstrict. Let me call it non-strict. The word did not come to my mind directly. It is a more relaxed language. In fact, when it is strictly typed, it restricts you in some places because they thought of VHDL as a code that will turn into hardware more directly like this. Already the Verilog is already a language close to the Verilog SystemVerilog because the SystemVerilog has evolved. Well, they do some object-oriented features and they use it to verify that they are doing SystemVerilog by adding extra keywords and functions like this. Then you can say that if VHDL is actively used in Verilog for FPGA design, why don't I learn Verilog? The reason for that is that I will also explain them. In fact, in Turkey uses much more VHDL in America. For example, Verilog used to be used more in the past, but now I see, for example, a lot of people in America just to not give that money to that model SIM. For model SIM, now the new name is QuestaSIM. in order to be able to do everything using only VHDL in small companies, in such startups. They are also because there is a UVVM, Universal Verification Methodology, and open source verification methodology. There are two methodologies, one by a few people in Europe and one by a few people in the United States. I will explain them. I will not go into too much detail. I think it will be very useful in this lesson. After that, let's say we choose one now, so we will probably go with VHDL. I already know VHDL more. I know it at a given level. I know the system at a given level. But you know, I have always used VHDL for more like 12 years. Then with examples over VHDL, I did this thing again, by the way. I missed this part. Let me correct it. Let me tell you right away. We will have classes on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock Turkey time. Consider first Sunday. 2 courses merged. After that, starting from the second week, I planned 14 weeks for now. Let's see. Maybe we can extend it a little longer. Or maybe we can take a break and do the second semester. Again, it will depend entirely on the requests and the impressions. You know, how much people like it, how much people like it, how much it spreads, etc. But, you know, as long as it is not too little, I will continue. I mean, I think so, because I am also learning on the one hand. But from the second week onwards, I mean, look, on June 12th at 8 in the evening, Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. Turkey time. Our lesson will be on Sundays, just like today, there will be a question and answer, the beauty of the question and answer. We will prioritize the priority thing again. Those who want to ask questions like this can come to Discord. Those who want to ask with their voice, those who want to ask with their voice, those who want to ask in writing can stay in chat. Discord chat, because I can't look at the Discord chat at the same time right now. Then I'm looking at the thing, so on the left screen, my YouTube is on silent right now, so the live broadcast is on. You can write there or you can ask by voice on Discord. But we will do it like this. There are also friends who want to discuss in more detail, you know, both brainstorming and brainstorming. We open the thing on Sunday, 1 hour lesson, question and answer, but the question about that week is over or there is no question. After finishing so many of them this time, in the remaining part of that hour, we will do something, you know, any question you want, any question about VHDL related to FPC. In the course content, there may actually be more such thing advanced level questions on any subject. Then on June 3rd, we received general information about these things. Now VHDL, Verilog, SystemVerilog, someone. Then, or this place is very important now. First of all, the code you wrote may not compile. It may be a syntax error. But the readability of the code you write, whether it is a breeding code or a design code, is very important. So I wrote a code like this. Top to any linting rules for FPC designer verification is also in this lesson again. I don't need to call it important here. I already put important things. I will put important things in 14 weeks. So from my point of view, here's how to get good readability of the code. When you look at it like this, you can see where there should be a comment. Too many comments are not very good. For example, some people write documentos, and some people write everything as a comment in the code in order not to write the document instead of writing the document, which reduces the readability of the code. I, of course, from my point of view, believe that these are the right solution or the right direct. Like this. Universal is how it is called readability, or in English, i.e. valid all over the world. There is no universal solution to some things. From my own point of view, top to any linting rules, you know, how much space should be left after that. I mean, according to my 14 years of experience, for example, when I do a code review, how do I feel comfortable? I am doing code review for 2-year engineers at SML. The children there have learned very well. I mean, frankly, I feel as if the quality of education in Europe surpasses us like this. So that is also sad. I mean, 1-year and 2-year engineers are writing codes. Of course, there are mistakes. I give them a lot of opinions again, but well, I mean, the children have taken a foundation. It is not a certain thing. They did not come from the university with zero coding in a Python, a VHDL, a SystemVerilog, just by passing such difficult technical courses. It is necessary to make self-criticism, for example. I think the course should be something like FPGA course in universities, such as VHDL, SystemVerilog, Verilog course. It can be added as an elective in the 4th year or something like that. By the way, it is very interesting for me when I started teaching at 20, for example, go to my old posts on LinkedIn. That's the thing with my old posts. I started sharing the agenda. Course has made the agenda. For example, I was offered a couple of things. Arab, I didn't leave the peninsula. Well, my uncle lived there for 10 years, for example. He graduated from ODTI construction. How many times I went to visit them, I know a little bit about the conditions. There are pluses and there are minuses. Of course, those who want to go again can go, but they pay good money. For me, for example, I have a master's degree, only I am not an academic staff after all. After that, there were two such offers to give me an FPGA course, one from Abu Dhabi and one from Doha. From somewhere there is something like this. They are opening universities offering education in English. I mean, that could have been a different experience. For example, I didn't go at that time. But let me also say that I was in Germany for 2 years. I was in Germany for 2018, 2020. Then I returned in the pandemic. I gave a lot of training to Aselsan again. So I have experience in giving training forecasts. I have given about 40 or 50 such trainings. I have recorded videos of them. Some of them are 1 hour, some are 6 hours, some are 2 days. For example, there are also long trainings. That's why I'm having trouble making eye contact, because the camera is up. I don't know how to solve it here. I don't know how to solve it because I don't want to look up all the time because, by seeing people. Classroom environment. Or when we were giving training on Skype, there was no camera. I mean, I don't remember exactly whether they were only giving the camera to the manager and above during the pandemic period, or it could be something like maybe the leading engineer and above. Then, I mean, the leading engineer was a little more difficult. I think it has changed now. I don't know the details of the cadres or the cadre structure. We didn't have a camera then. I didn't make eye contact at all. I was looking directly at the screen, or I was doing something. When you give in the classroom, you already see people. Of course, it is much better to do something by seeing. If we open a camera on Discord, we can open a camera on Discord. Participants, this time again, I'm not going to look up, I'm going to look at the slides. So an online training is, of course, well, I highly recommend, for example, like this, especially if you are paying money and taking trainings. If your company pays for it, or if you give it out of your own pocket, try to get the training on such 10 sites, that is face-to-face. The thing about face-to-face education is very different. I mean, because during the pandemic period, I received a lot of online education like this. Okay, the teacher helps you. He uses boards like this. He uses digital boards. He has a big board at the back. He gets up and draws there. He has a camera like this. Of course they are. Since they get very big money for trainings, they have very good things for trainings. They have setups. For example, the teacher does something, stands up, for example, there are things like that. There are a lot of them in GSML, etc. As a meeting, as soon as you stand at the board, the camera automatically zooms in, for example, directly to the board area. But of course, they are expensive technologies, so I don't have the possibility of doing that under these conditions. But as much as I can, well, I will try to do that. I will try to provide quality content, and I will increase its quality as it is watched. So now let me finish the first 5 weeks, and then the 4th week. Again, the question and answers are open for now. That is, there is a question and answer every Wednesday on Sunday. I am skipping that part. I will explain the thing right now. I said the linting part, 4th, in a week. Now that we have learned linting, we have learned the basics of HDL, VHDL, Verilog, SystemVerilog. At a certain level, I will write some free and paid training that you can get free and paid training that I like here. I'll post a link, gang and so on Discord, and I'll share it again in the technical suggestions section. You can take them, for example. Some of them are cheap, for example, for €100 or $100. At that time, for example, you are not working, but you are in a position to give him that money from your pocket. Xilinx has very good trainings. For example, AMD has become AMD now. After that, there are still such affordable things. Intel has trainings again. There are trainings with free lecturers, such as 3 or 4 such trainings a year, and I will always talk about them, because there are many such trainings out there. English is okay, but you speak directly to the lecturer with the microphone, so I know that most people do not take them. I know that, although I explained them in the elevator, I know that the friends in the elevator never opened and took them, but the thing is more like this. Young people, especially on these issues, a lot of things. Artiklar, I will share all those resources so that they can benefit. I will share on air, and I'll share it in the thing. I'll share on Discord. We'll go in through there. But if you can't afford it yourself, either it's not free or it's an expensive education itself. In the company you work for, you will demand from your manager, director that you can get it. So if you don't demand it, you know that there is a... So you will demand, look, you will explain the content of the training. you will go and convince your manager, your team leader, look, these are very useful, we need to take it. Because most of the time, because of the intensity, the pace of work, projects, etc., too much time is not allocated. So what I have observed in Turkey, I worked in this way in Turkey for nearly 10 years, maybe a little more than 10 years. But for example, in Europe, my current manager is constantly planning this. I mean, in Deswai, we were a core team of 6 people. We actually had a team leader. We didn't have a manager. In Germany, we were telling the director, and there was a position that corresponded to the director, and he was taking it. So you have to do something about it somehow. First your friends, then your team leader and your manager. What do we need to do? I will collect the questions in 10 minutes. Aaron, let me tell you now. Sometimes I think of something else myself. I enter, I see the questions written. I'll make them. In the meantime, there is something like this. I'm going to split it in two like this on the side and open Discord so that right now, for example, because I sealed Windows, I realized that I would not hear a question from Discord even if it came to me. And when I saw Yilmaz's question, I thought of him. If you write on Discord that I want a promise, I will do something. I'll turn the sound up somehow. I mean, your voice will go to the broadcast. Of course, how will I hear it, by the way? I need to do it somehow with a headset or something. For example, I see broadcasters doing something. One of them, for example, with AirPods or something, he wears it on one ear so that he is constantly talking on Discord on the one hand or something like that. They are doing such things. Let's do something for now. Since we have already combined the second hour with question and answer today, there I directly to the thing. I'll switch to headphones. For now, let's do, because if I turn up the volume on the computer, if I unmute it right now, the sound's coming from here. It goes to the microphone and does loopback, so it's bad. So let's make the second hour for questions, and I will answer the questions in the second hour. If necessary, we don't take a break for 10 minutes. Let's do that, Aaron. I will answer, but their question asked a question about HLS, and I will answer it. Then in the 4th week, good coding practices and design recommendations. Now this is a long event, so here it is actually a readable. You started writing code, but these FPGA is resources. As the map happens, how good coding practices mapping in a quality way. So it's actually the hardware. I would say it's like the art of using hardware resources effectively. So when you say design recommendations, when you write an HDL code, the language no longer matters. It can be any of the 3 above. By the way, you know that it must be used correctly with maximum performance with resources. I divided it into 2 lessons. That is, in the 4th and 5th week, I will open the magma from here. For example, by drawing it like this with examples for an hour. After that, I will go from here. I will draw a flip-flop like this, or these can be a RAM, a flip-flop, a slice, for example, the big one, like this. Let me write like this. I'll take the pen, I'll take a second. Let's make it a slice, okay? I can't write very well right now. I need to look at the screen on the side. I need to look at exactly what I wrote. Let it be this slice. One Xilinx slice, for example. I said X slice. There are lookup tables in it. Since it has input, of course, its abilities change a lot. There are 7 input LUTs, 6 input LUTs. In older technologies, there are 4 input LUTs. This one, for example, this one in the slice, get lookup table. And this one, for example, I'm going to say that this one is like this. Let's make a lookup table with 4 entries. Let's make it 5 and something that is 5. There's 1 input, 1 output, 5 inputs. These are logic 1 or 0. 5/2 actually. 32. Different combination. This one outputs as a single bit, 1 bit here. Then this bit goes, for example, the output of the lookup table is there. Sometimes there are muxes like this. Wait a minute, I drew the mux upside down. I'll pick it right away, as follows. Back. I'll take it, or it's easier. I need to practice a little with the pen because I haven't used it for a while, because for now, let me draw it directly with the mouse. Let me draw it with the mouse. It will give you a little click, click, click sound, but like this. For example, the output of this lookup went to a max here. It entered a max here, like this hop. Let's get one multiplexer here. I drew the multiplexer upside down again. Sorry. it's going to be like this. So it's going to be more than one thing. So there are a few things going in. There is a select bit here. There is a select bit here. There is a select bit here. And then this selection comes out from here. I will also explain the insides of this slice and so on in those good coding practices, because you need to know their internal structure so that you can do the coding correctly, and do the coding correctly with maximum frequency and minimum resource usage, maximum here pet delay. And when you make maximum pet delay between two registers, then you are already at the highest frequency. You will usually see the maximum speed of the relevant speed grading of the family you are using. But in the data sheets, for example, whether there is this one register, so when this is connected like this, there is usually only something caused by the pet delay there. They usually say the maximum speed according to it, or they only throw one inverter in between, they throw one lookup table or something like that. They have such simple calculations. But I'm trying to say that in this slice, which I will actually explain in good coding practices, the output of the multiplexer will enter a register. For example, let's think that it goes as select bit. Let me take it back a bit like this.
I couldn't get the eraser back. Where to find the eraser?
This brush. Let's do it like this. I can't find the eraser for now. Where is the eraser here? But I can do select like this.
I need to be able to delete it. I chose
exactly. Okay, fine. This is how it works. It's not a big deal, actually. These concepts generally started to settle down like this in the 7th or 8th year. Sometimes all these slices, Xilinx slices, details, or not only slice but also DSPs. How does DSPs? Digital signal processing is also its thing at the same time. Actually, you know, when you do the math and stuff, there are processing unit DSP48s like Xilinx or something. Intel has some corresponding signal processing stuff like this. Units. What exactly does DSP48 stand for? DSP48 Xilinx? I'll say they don't usually write in long form like this. They always write things like DSP48. Well, he says, for example, his specs are E1, E2. Exactly, I said it right, EDSP. I will explain the details of these here. For example, again, Burak Dursun is my very close friend, and we are still in contact with him. And he will teach 1 or 2 lessons like a visiting instructor, if there is no setback. I also have a friend from here, Ali. He will teach 1 lesson, 1 or 2 lessons. I will try to do something like this. I do not claim to know everything, but we will sit side by side, for example, especially with friends in Europe, because we already meet with them. You know, we meet with them. I also go to their houses, and they also come. I mean, it is more interactive when there are 2 people like this, and it is also more interactive. They are Burak Dursun, by the way, there are many subjects that Burak Dursun is better at than me. So did Ali. But by making them teach them too. Some of the lessons, I mean, this is not the first 5 weeks, but I want them to contribute. I also have a friend, Anul, he's in Germany. Burak is already in Germany. Ali is here. In Germany, I have a friend who is an old FPGA developer who has written software code like this, for example, system on chip. And I want to give him some of this kind of training about zinc, etc. So here, for example, let me show you the thing, and then let's close this topic. Let's draw one thing, Max, with the pencil right here.
Immediately. He stayed here. Why did he stay there? Okay. For example, you can put a small...
I'm going to need a... There you are. For example, a system with 5 inputs. std logic vector for down to 0. Let's say we write, for example, there are 5 inputs, let this go and turn into a decision in the lookup table. It becomes a case statement, if statement, whatever logic you write, let that decision go. More outsider, such 2 inputs from the outside, these are like this, let these go out from there. Let's say it goes to the select bit of a max's multiplex, selects it, and this enters a regenerator, for example. This register will also come out of here. I'm throwing one here so that there is one internal brem. It's just going to be a bit of this. After that, now, for example, it is like this. Let's say that these 5 input registered come from outside. Let's say that there is one outside there, one of 5 of the same. I drew each one of them here. For example, there is register. Now look at this one register right here. This is a register inside the slice. Actually, this pet delay here is the total maximum pet delay of this one. Here, wait a minute. Let me take it back like this and draw this in a different color. From the output of this register here to the input of this one, which is actually the TCO of this one, that total pet delay is actually your maximum frequency. Determines, I thought about how these were used, 48 in one DSP over there like this. Let's get one space links right here, right now. This FPGA is a DSP for a E2, for example. In such a design, there are things in it. There are arithmetic alus, arithmetic logic units, etc. Complex systems. I knew some things that can be done in this DSB, which can be done in this DSB. Again, in such pre-registers, there are registers at the input, registers at the output, etc. For example, with some coding techniques, with practices and design recommendations, you do not use the registers inside the FPGA, that is, you use the embedded registers in this DSB. Then you can do mathematical multiplications, sums, 48-bit operations, etc. Much more effectively. This is a little advanced, but at least beginners can do this. When such things are done here, fmaxes can go up to 200, 50, 300 megahertz at that time, and much more complex algorithms such as DSB48, DSB4548 plus slice combinations plus a RAM here. For example, there may be an external DDR interface. It may be pulling data from there. If they have at least a know-how about them, they can implement and learn them much more easily in the future. I will look at the questions again. Now we are already a little scattered. Let me finish here. So in this 4th and 5th week curriculum, there will be good coding practices and design recommendations. Here I know the most basic. I know that there will be things here that an engineer of 20 years does not know, because I know that people do not know. There are examples that do not know that the new engineer already does not know them very much. Maybe he opens a PDF and reads the PDF, but he cannot have too much algorithm experience or complex algorithms. So these 2 weeks we will do something to him. If 2 weeks are not enough, I can increase it by 1 week because it is very important. So it is not incredibly difficult for you to learn a VHD language, especially electronics or software developer. If you have a background, that is, if you have graduated from an electronics or software engineering department, or, by the way, you don't have to be an engineer, you can learn this as a hobby, you can learn this as a hobby, so it is easier to learn those parts. Already VHDs are not a difficult language, just some basic parallel processing. Each process you can do is actually a different process. VHDL language, and VHDL is not difficult to write VHDL language. And VHDL, when you establish the logic that each process you write in the FPGA works independently of each other in parallel, not sequentially after writing the code, but as in a processor that works in a basic single thread. And it's very problematic to use them correctly and effectively. If you want to run this design at 250 megahertz, you can use the constraint you entered in that constraint. Every time a bit file is generated in every compilation, that is, every time a bit file is generated, it will be stable for you to install on your hardware. You need to ensure that the constraints hold. So actually, when you do all this, in the table I will now talk about when you do all this on purpose. In fact, there are quite a lot of things, quite a lot of combinations. Both experience is required, and you need to have the right person guiding you like this, so you can be a very good FPGA designer and verifier in 10 years. For example, you can be a very good FPGA designer and verifier in 5 years. For example, I saw this when I went to Germany. I was an engineer for 8 years when I went there in 2018, and I had worked on many projects in Turkey. I had worked with very good people. But when I went there, for example, a 4-year engineer is incredibly good. Because the man worked with the right people, they always guided him in the right direction. They made him take the right trainings. For example, Burak is like this. Burak himself has achieved these things. But quality trainings, not just at the beginning of your career, because it was a mid-career purchase. The man was directly enlightened, like this and like this. And I'm the one who knows Burak Dersin. There are no decent people in Turkey, for example. I think this man is a very valuable man. I will tell you some of the things he did in the future, the things he taught me, etc. Of course, it didn't happen. I mean, Burak loves me very much, and I love him very much. When we were on the boards, for example, we argued for hours drawing on the boards. We argued for hours after work and during it. Try to find something like this for yourself. Head balance. Konuları seven arkadaşlar bulup onlarla paylaşarak ve tartışarak öğreniyorsun. Burak da benden çok mutlu. Burak da öğrendiği. He still says about some things, for example, when we talk, look, you showed me this. It was very useful to me. Well, it's very important. You can't treat each other, if possible, do it in a team of 5 or 6 people. Then you develop unbelievably. I mean, then you can do it, for example, in 10 years. Very high quality a designer. Or if you are going to be a breeder, you can do it in 3 years, but there are other factors that change. This time, as the team gets smaller, you go towards the startup. As you go towards the startup, the boss is putting direct pressure. He wants a lot of work. He wants to make money. There are too many factors. I'm just telling you. Well, there was, in classes like this, in high school or something, ideal. I'm going to talk about a scenario that is in ideal conditions. How do you do it? That is, how do you do it? You will determine it yourself. I mean, I am trying to teach how to fish, not how to eat fish. We will not give 78 hours of FPGA training. We will focus on the big picture and focus on the big picture. And I have observed a lot of friends. For example, I have seen a lot of things after a certain point. For example, I will not name names, of course, but the children are very smart. Many things, their perception is very good. They are very good people, but, well, they are obsessed with something. They are obsessed with something. They work on it for years and years and years. Neither does it contribute to the country, nor does it contribute to themselves. So if they delegate that work to a 1-year engineer, that boy will do it too after that. But under normal circumstances, he said, "Okan, thank you. I am explaining some things under normal conditions, so some things are your own battle now. It is yours. So how can I improve myself the most, and how can I contribute the most to my country?" Of course, there are a lot of variables in your own life. I don't know what kind of teams you work with in the company. If you have to work there, for example, if resignation is not an option, you will go along with him. You will get along with him. So now it's up to you. What was I saying? Don't do anything. Look, I've seen a lot of people do it. I mean, 20 or 30 of them, actually. People who can make an incredible contribution to the country and the nation. Some engineers may be a little obsessed with such a thing. We are obsessed with something. We are obsessed with something. I did this for years, by the way, but I have improved myself a little over time. But now when I leave work, for example, I try to reset the head. Because if you do so, at the end of those 8 hours, when you come back the next day, you are much more productive. Otherwise, work. Think about 15 hours, for example. Both harm to your body and harm to yourself. And actually harm to the company. Because I started to make wrong solutions. For example, how many times something happened to me. I open the code. I want to solve a problem. I unintentionally create a bug that does not exist. Then I solve it myself. I solve the same bug, etc. Experiencers have experienced this a lot. For example, don't get stuck on one thing. Ask for help. Go talk to your manager. Ask your team members. Say, look, I did something like this. Can you give me an opinion here? Ask your friends for help and ask your friends for help. And that job is no longer, for example, you have worked in a job for 3 years, and in this job, you see, you are now becoming a thing for this work. You are overqualified. By transferring that work to NoHav immediately, of course, I don't mean by running away like this. I mean by transferring it to NoHav. To the right people, you are actually growing it under you. You are constantly growing it. I mean, for example, for me at work, I have worked for 10 years. I have supported the projects of a lot of people in the defense industry. I have answered a lot of people's questions. I have given training. constantly exchange ideas with your external team of friends yesterday and with friends in other teams. Place new. There is no need for bright young people to grow up or to be bright if they have already been selected. Of course, if he gets along better with you, he gets more, so that's his thing now. Option. But delegate the work to the people you have trained from below. So for example, people are doing things like this. I've been doing this job for 3 years and I'll do it for the rest of my life, okay? That's how they get into the comfort zone. They get on defense. What's going on here? Everyone loses, the country loses, he loses himself, nor does he learn anything new on his own. Try not to do that, get high, look what your friends are doing. We'll demand, for example, we do this every 2 weeks in ASMR. I'm not going to compare how little it is done in other companies, but for example, every 2 weeks, people do this for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. They tell us what they are doing and what problems they are dealing with, okay? And the manager is planning it, and we have someone going and working on something for 2.5 years, and we don't know what he is doing, and he doesn't know what he is doing, and we don't know what he is doing, and he doesn't know what he is doing, and he has worked so hard on it. He even forgot what he was doing, in those 2.5 years. Don't get into that kind of thing. I suggest you lift your head and look outside, and by outside, I mean your team leaders. I'm sorry, I meant team leader. After that, there are other software teams in other companies. For example, watching this video is a very positive thing for you. I will give such examples, what was done where I worked in Germany, what was done in Turkey, what was done in Turkey. There are also useful things that are done in Turkey and not abroad. This event is not one-sided, but when we hit the average, I tell you so. The experience I gained in 8 years, the boy gained in 3 or 4 years, and the guy I saw and the kid is very solid, so he's a man to me. We were with Burak. Look, there was a guy named Nihal who studied at a good German university in Germany. He also loves digital design. For example, we worked with the child for a year without asking me a single question. I sat next to the child for a year. We were sitting next to each other. By the way, the boy had a girlfriend or something like that with his phone once. He was a sociable boy, but I never saw him play with his phone once. First of all, the room is like this. Our rooms are like the rooms in days. There were 3 of us. 3 of us were sitting. I was sitting with Charles Nihal. I also like Charles very much. He is a very good engineer. Greetings to him too. The child can lift his head and focus on a pictorial. After that, he can have a good discussion in a positive way after that, but Charles was in one corner and I was in another corner because we were more experienced. I had an experience somewhere for 2 years with a German newcomer who finished his master's degree. What's with the kid? I saw him watching something on YouTube while he was looking for something irrelevant. I saw him neither on Google nor on the phone. I mean, the child was sitting like this for 8 hours. He was working. Okay, I didn't see anything in Europe, in America, but they say so there too. They say that in America they work more. Well, that's the thing. The discipline thing is very good. I mean, especially at work. They call discipline a thing. So discipline is actually what you do when someone is not watching you. Child, for example, he was showing it with the things he was doing, what we did in the weekly meetings there. We were having a team meeting. We were constantly discussing with Burak. We were discussing and talking in English. The child, for example, was not participating. Maybe if he had participated, he would have learned more. I don't know, but like this. I mean, I see that the engineers in Turkey are the ones I have worked with, and I have worked with the brightest engineers who graduated from the best schools. So usually the difference between the added value created by them and the added value created by those in Turkey in terms of the time period is very large. That is, ours create that added value in 8 to 10 years. I could be wrong, by the way. I'm just saying what I saw. I'm talking about 10 to 15 examples in one job. So the engineer I saw, and they can reach that point much faster in 4 years. They have the right guidance. His manager is constantly involved in his training planning. He is involved in the trainings he will receive. Advice is listened to. For example, when he gave training for 2 years, I gave a lot of advice. Very little of it was followed, to be honest. I took those trainings. For example, I found free Intel's very good trainings. For example, there were even more free trainings during the pandemic period. I expected them to come and ask questions about them. For example, let the children come and ask them. Let's discuss. There is no feedback. For example, there were a few people So I don't know. I think this awareness is very good, especially what I see in Europeans. We need to develop this. It can't be like this. You are so smart and hardworking, but you don't get obsessed with something like this. How many times have I told one of my friends who is currently on live broadcast, for example, I said, look, change this subject. You have worked hard on this subject. Anyone can do this subject. You can teach these things to an engineer of a few years. You can transfer know-how in 6 months. You need to do better things. You need to do more value-added things. You need to do better things. You need to do more value-added things. He is stubborn, for example. Okay, he must be laughing while he is listening to me right now. But he is stubborn. I mean, it is up to him. I mean, I am not saying anything to him. Of course, I am only advising him as a very dear friend. But, well, I mean, I think both he loses and the company loses, but, you know, of course, you just tell people your opinion. You can't change some things. Now, the curriculum is like this. Let's move on to what we really need to talk about today. I have to steal some of that. What to say from the question and answer section. Let me just answer the questions written today. Let me answer the microphone event. We have I'm an internal. So like this, we just open a live broadcast to the team on Discord. And because the live broadcast has a delay of 15 to 20 seconds, let me do something. Let's test this microphone with them. After that, how do we make the audio delay without loopback and blah, blah, blah? Oh, question, next week we will do the question and answer part exactly like this. Today I will only read the articles. So if you are in Discord and will ask questions with sound written, they should write it as something on YouTube. Chat part. Let me answer from there. Today I'm going to talk about the fact that I've actually gone through this. I'm going to talk about the fact that I actually have 2 slides. Or I'm going to talk about this with these 2 slides, by the way. I'll do it like this. I'll do a swap. I'll take it down. This is the first slide. I updated it yesterday. I actually shared something like this on LinkedIn. I shared it at 2021. It's been over a year. I mean, I shared it in April or something. I didn't change too much. In fact, a little bit of touches like this. I did either this is a flow that an FPC designer from scratch should sleep in the designer or in the validator. I think in an FPC designer of 20 years. I reserved the blues. In fact, every single step. This flow, their outputs in green. Now I will tell you about it. Let's talk about it. Again, you want to talk about it too? You can write the question on YouTube. You can write gang. Now, at first it starts with a planning. In fact, I put a description of what I put there. Each blue box is a step of the flow. Yes, I said that each of these is a design and verification flow consisting of 8 steps. Each green box shows the outputs of the related design step. Exactly the outputs of this one, for example, with the blue-green arrow with the arrow like this. Now the slides are in English, which is easier to use both English technical terms and the language because I will translate them. If we make the slide in Turkish, okay, it translates the slide, but it does not translate the visual, so this time we also need to deal with the visuals and cut the video again. It's quite an ordeal, so don't just think of it as cutting the video, cutting it like this and combining it, making the transition smooth and so on. It takes too much time and I don't have that much time, so if I had that much time it would be even better content. But this is all I can do for now. Let me take this sideways like this. Look, for example, with this pen, for example, as soon as I select the pen here, for example, here, hop over here. It's stuck in yellow. I'll break the color of this and make it pink. Here, for example, you can put I can also make a smiley face or something like that, or here. Let's say there is no this. For example, we drew something like this. Of course, there is no such situation here. But the beauty of the pen is also such a point-wise. With this, Burak Dursun, I learned, they showed me, they went like this. I took it in a circle like this. Let's do it like this. Let's even use the pen a little bit while I'm telling this, while I have my hand ready. Planning first look. First planning. What is planning? Let me tell you the most common mistake I have made in Turkey. Suddenly they come with such a haralaguereli saying that we need to do this and that, and there is no question of whether they want it or not. There is neither a system document nor an architecture document. First, you need to have the subdivisions of the card you are working with, and then you need to have the breakdowns of your FPG, that is the requirements. There is nothing. They come like this. Let's do this. This is how it will be. This is how it will be. They tell you on 2 pieces of paper, and then they leave, and you keep struggling like this. Then there are a lot of integration problems, so this planning phase is actually very important. At the end of the planning, you need to think about this first, okay? I will move on to the conceptual design part, but first the planning must be done correctly. The system responsible for you, architect, team lead, manager, clarify in your head what needs to be done. Then you can put it in writing in a document. It needs to be added somewhere, and this is actually called something called ELM tool. ELM stands for Lifecycle Management. What does ELM stand for? Application Lifecycle Management. Now there are different ELM tools here. For example, there is doors. For example, when I say doors, I see a lot of people, let's not bother with doors. You tell us by mouth, write it down in the notebook, go. They are afraid when they say doors. That's how it is. There is Polarion. Again, the retardation of such requests. For example, in ESM, we use Polarion. I'm saying Siemens in German or Siemens in Turkish. How do we say Siemens in Turkish? We say Siemens as Siemens. You can use a tool. It's a Polarion. Normally a tool is no longer a tool, and ELM tools are also a lot of ELM tools, too many ELM tools. It doesn't matter which one it is, but I need a tool. The design of the system requirements, then its subdivisions, then your requirements should be entered into the FBC, and the FBC designer or verifier should not enter it himself. So this is a very basic mistake. For example, it has been done for years. They have been saying that we have improved it for years. I didn't see any improvement until 2020, friends. All the designs are ending. Retrospective system requirements. Design requirements are usually made by the designers. So, for example, Ahmed said that there is no escape from V-cycle. I don't know V-cycle. V-cycle is the name of that approach. In fact, let's show V-cycle right now from here. Very briefly, let's get an idea of what V-cycle is. It's something like this, V-cycle. Which one of these? I don't know if we can open it. Actually, mine too. Look at V-cycle here. Verification phase, validation phase. I divided it as full screen. How do I do it? This is how it works. Except, for example, here it says requirement gathering, system analysis, software design, module design, coding unit testing. Look, these parts talk to each other. They are integral. They talk to each other. These parts are in the V-cycle approach in V-cycle. Then integration testing. Then system testing. Then acceptance testing. This is more, what Ahmed said. This is something more. I will try to show a little bit of the big picture in FPGA design. In fact, I am telling you the big picture of a product on this system. Verification and validation phase. It reminded me very well. Thank you for your contribution. Let me delete it from the thing because it stays on the screen in that round. We rounded it up. We turned it off. V-cycle is something like this. If you search for it on Google, for example, it comes up as V-model. In fact, I knew V-model more. V-model is a graphical representation of systems development life cycle. That is, it is a graphical representation of the life cycle of the system's development. Here is the graphical representation of the life cycle of the development cycle of the system. You can also look at it in terms of the system. So in mine here, I could have made this V shape like this in these 8 steps. But it is both more difficult to draw, and because I write down the outputs and stuff like that, then it would be something like the V model of FPGA design and verification, but I drew it this way. Now we start with planning. Where is our pen? Let's get our pen back. We have taken the pen and we are in pink. Okay. Now you actually do not have much to do with the planning at first. You do not have much influence here as a planner or designer, but you can intervene in the planning and change some requirements instantly. For example, for things that will not happen, you know, there is amen to the prayer that will not happen. This happens a lot. I mean, that's how a programmer, he wants something like this. So this is in our hardware. There is no possibility of realization in the infrastructure of that project. For example, okay, they want such things, and after that they will tell you, you're wasting a lot of time and it doesn't really get into the device. And you know what? It causes a lot of problems for both the software developer and the algorithmist and the FPGA developer at work. Or your manager should be actively in a planning phase so the output of this place is actually good. Clarified. Design requirements are happening. It does not have to be design, by the way. It can also be verification. Let's say well understood and clarified requirements. These are also in these requirements using these ELM tools, and they need to be kept somewhere in writing. For example, in how many projects I say to us now, for example, our managers and directors always say, okay, we are not starting without the system requirements document, friends. This decision has been taken 50 times. For example, during the period I worked for 10 years, it comes with such a TASLIC that it comes from such a top, that it comes from such a top, that the thing. In other words, they do not have a document. So what they do is copy and paste from another document. That system is a different system. That project is a different project. That desired design of the project is a completely different design. System side. There is a system requirements document. Start looking. There is no inside, so there is nothing like that. If you know what I mean, this mistake is made a lot. For example, I'm seeing it right now. Here, they are number one in the world in these lithography machines. So it just so happened that it was established from Philips. It was separated from Philips because it is established under Philips, and then either these guys are lucky to be like this or something like that. There is no such thing. So friends, this document design is so good. For example, let me show you something here. Let me show you something about document design. Let me move on to how they do it.
Let's put this, I'll clean it up. Why can't I clean it? Because it's stuck in the pen.
God, I can't get it cleaned up. Because I think you can choose like this.
Why don't we just say, why don't you open a new one?
Now let's clean up the ink space that's left here, because it is important. So I want to show it with a pencil by drawing it like this.
Where did I put the touch type pen?
I couldn't find the pen.
I put it somewhere to my left and right. The pen.
This one.
There is.
In between, I'm on the screen when this is there and I'm seeing this, right? I should be able to turn something on and not turn myself off completely. I'm there.
Again.
Okay, I'll draw it like this. Now let's say there is a system on a hill. Let's say there is a...
The other color is like this.
It's supposed to be happening.
I'll do it.
I still can't use the pen well. I need to practice a little bit. I'll tell you about it in the thing. I'll tell you with the mouse so that you get a click sound, so there is nothing to do.
I'm going to draw snow like this. Like this one. Now there's this thing over there on the hill.
It's too small. I wonder how I can make it bigger.
A little bit. My teacher is slow at first, but it is also better than doing it in Paint, so it looks bad, it looks very well.
For example, very interestingly, I choose this area, but it won't let me delete it. I haven't figured it out yet. I have to take it back. Now think of it this way. That's the most important part. Oh, I've been choosing this font here and that font here.
Okay.
Click and select. Let's write STS here. The color also makes it black. Sit system. SPS. There's a SPS over there.
This thing, system of the whole system.
Why can't I delete it again?
I mean, I press delete, it doesn't delete. I don't understand why it does this. I need to tinker with the program a little bit. But for example, now imagine the system, this big square system. That square is also a little bit.
I'll just move myself over here and I'll enlarge it a little bit. I'm going to say as follows.
This is the performance specifications of your system. So let me call it the requirements of the system. Let's call it a document like SPS, or under this, there are a lot of small little parts of your system, okay?
Oh.
There's a unit over there. There is a unit here, there is another unit there. These units talk to each other. And underneath these units, there are a lot of cards. Okay, let's have a card here. Let's say, let's make this color different.
Over there.
One of them has a card inside and an FPC underneath it. So you want the whole device from the top, the whole system. The whole system is a system. What should be the name of a project? For example, I'm shaking the name. I don't know. For example, the name of the project, there are a lot of such units under the balcony. There are units. Under the units, there are analog digital cards that I drew. Whether it is an analog card, whether it is a digital card, whether it is an FPC under it, whether it is an FPC on that card. Because by the way, there can be more than one FPC, sometimes more than one FPC, more than one processor. The smallest one that you will design, get your FPC. The FPC has, the demands have to start from the top and break down and come down, and in this job, when you enter the Elm brick, you need to see these requirements. You need to see the design so that you start. So I know that most of you do not start like this. But if you don't demand it, these requirements are changing and you are constantly lost. You are constantly lost, so you are constantly lost in the system. For example, I have seen the documentation of these in 2 companies in Europe, both of which are very well done. They can maintain so many projects with much fewer people. Otherwise, someone comes, for example, X is making his person change something inside the FPC. They already want no documentation, not updated and not followed. The other one comes and tries to change what this one is doing, skidding on skids. Underneath this is the specification for this system performance. The lowest unit there is now EPS, okay, element performance specification or something. Just think of it as the requirements of this system are at the top. In the unit you designed the element. Here you go. Those FPC specific requirements are coming in such a fragmented way, and you need a requirement at this lower level. When you open it in that Elm tool, you can reach the reason at the top. So you can actually master the designer and the verifier level thing. You also master the system requirements and all the details of the system if you open and read them. Normally the requirements should be coming like this under ideal conditions in the ideal situation. You can also be involved in a certain way, especially if you are experienced. For these well understood and clarified design requirements, then you as a designer in the second step. Look, there are backward arrows like this. For example, I'll say you're at 6. You can go back to 4 and fix things. So, by the way, it's not that you can't go back to the other one when you go through one more. But of course, it's too late to go and change the design or go back to the reception order, for example, at the very end. And then that's the time that somehow, let me make myself a little smaller here. That time then you have to separate it somehow because you will lose time. The more you go every step firmly, the better. But of course, something comes out of the experience, sometimes a few steps back. It needs to turn, so be aware of that. So there are these backward arrows. Then again, anyway, you're moving forward. In the reception order, you're actually doing research. Either you are looking at the algorithms on this subject, how they are implemented. You are looking at IEE papers, for example, or you are going to other such things. There are very good things. There are conferences published there. You are looking at articles. After that, you are actually doing something like this. You are doing something like literature review. You are looking at what has been done in the literature on this subject in your own company. There are things happening at work. There are published conceptual design reports. You look at them, then you look at those documents. You look at what has been done in the past. There are technical reports, for example. You look at them. Research here, for example, you are brainstorming with your friends again. You are talking, you say, look, how can I implement this? Do you have such a suggestion? What do you think? What do you think? No one wants to bam without talking to anyone, without brainstorming with the team leader, for example. People enter after that in 10 months, when such a very high quality work could have been produced in 3 months. Only he can understand. It turns out to be a not very high quality solution, by the way. I have made these mistakes in the past, but you learn as you go along. The question is that right now I am trying to explain. I am trying. You start by knowing these things, so that especially new graduates and those who will graduate know that there is such a flow. At least you will improve it even more already. You will make more such touches. After that, as Ahmed said, you can benefit from the V model. You can benefit from other engineers who know better than me. But if you start without knowing this at all, like this, the team leader whispers something, the man is busy at work, he can't even explain it properly, he says this will be done, you start with this. So lost, you know, waste of time, and the loss of quality is a freak thing. I made this mistake myself, by the way, in the past, of course. You learn by doing, but I'm already at work anyway. Or I'm trying to raise awareness. What did I say? Resource, ideas, brainstorming, notes and drawings for the best solution. I mean, go like this, go to the boards. There are huge boards in companies. Go and draw there. Think a little bit about what the system requirements are and how we can provide the best solution for them with the infrastructure we have, or in the infrastructure you have. For example, if only a sensor is changing, or if you can only switch to a higher speed grade of a pin-compatible FPGA of an FPGA, and this is something that will be delivered after a year. Review all alternatives, you know. Of course, this is a little more experienced, but you can go to such good engineers, experienced engineers. If you build good relationships and have conversations with them, you can even learn some things during tea and coffee breaks. Now, conceptual design said, now that we've finished here, you actually have the best solution in your mind within the framework of the available possibilities, okay? Now you start here. Design. Implementation starts here. Here, for example, if you ask how many days it will take, I think this place is like a week or so anyway, this part, by the way. People's work anyway, i.e. system architects, team leads, managers at a certain level. You shouldn't have a very big contribution here anyway. Some of you should only have your feedbacks to you. Before starting a design in conceptual design, I think this preliminary work should be done for a week and 10 days. Depending on the difficulty of the job, maybe sometimes you will work for 2 weeks. I mean, for example, I saw something here, friends, my mouth was open. I mean, the guys prepared a proof of concept report. They did such a work without designing. It's already clear that the design will be of incredible quality and will solve incredible problems. And by man, by the way, I mean, you know, people, both men and women, it is impossible to make such a distinction. So there are very good people. I'm trying to say they made such a proof of concept design. 8. For example, they have prepared 160 pages of proof of concept. Now you say that these guys are just like that. Actually, it's not like that, you know. They haven't done anything to these guys. There is something there. You open it, you see there is labor, and how to make it the best quality, not the lowest level engineer, so it's not system architect. He made a team lead, he made an experienced designer, did I understand? The thing that comes out in conceptual design is actually the details of the proof of concept design. There is no man who has reported the details of the design and transferred it to know-how. I'm looking at the guide with no ESM, but there are details of the whole concept design that the guy made, an incredible know-how transfer. Now the second thing is that you can also ask for a conceptual design review as an optional here. One of my very bright friends told me that after seeing this, he turned around and told me that I had added "here is my cinematic friend and I salute him too." In the conceptual design review, you did something conceptual, but again, if you assign such a review to your system architect, to such a team lead, and assign such a meeting and spend an hour observing, the quality of this conceptual design improves a lot. Or call your experienced design friends. You actually throw it to the team so that you can experience it and let them see that it works like this. Then the implementation part is now here. Your requirements are clear, okay? Conceptually, everything is already in your head. You know what you need to do? Low-level designer, so transistor level, DSP level. After that, you move on to design. Here you start coding. So look, it's only the third time. We are now at the step where the outputs are just starting to come out here. That is the first time that the design comes to you with the requirements. For example, if we say that the end of the first one is T0, roughly from the designer's point of view, let's say that actually the first 2 to 3 weeks have passed to conceptual design. Implementation, you actually start coding in the 4th, 5th week. So I've seen a lot. As soon as the design comes in, you open it up and start coding. What happened in the end? What happened now? No one can change those codes. It breaks down as soon as they change it, because what they want is there is a proper post-written design that does not accept a proper design. There are requirements that do not reflect the reality of the design. What? Someone can change it, someone can understand it. You know, the person who would normally take 2 weeks to understand it sits and looks at it for a year, simulates understanding that design, goes to Laba and tests it, starts to solve its bugs very, very badly, very badly. Something is lost here. Money and time are lost. Let me tell you. You need to make this place solid here. So if you come here solid, if you go every step solid, then it turns out to be a very special job. Well, the weakest link of the chain actually determines the strength of the chain. Either think of it as a very strong thing, or think of it as a very strong thing, or think of it as a titanium chain with 8 such very titanium is not easily broken, but there are 8 such things here. 8 of them are very strong and thick, and one of them is very thin, and it is titanium thin, so you pull it with a very high force, and what will happen is that the thin one will break apart first, and then a lot of time will be spent on its solution. Your outputs are here. You got it here. This is also very important. I already said that realization of requirements by producing reusable output. Now, this is also very important. Someone is designing something. First of all, it does not use things from the existing library. That is, things that have been designed before. Okay, a direct, incredible loss of labor. Here, for example, things need to be very sober. Team leaders need to be very sober, and team leaders need to get along very well with each other in FPGA groups with more than one team leader. You need to be very good at designing your targets like this. For example, every time we enter our manager here, every month like this, there is a thing going on. It's more of a general meeting like this, except for the meetings once a week. I mean, once every 2 weeks, we always have a 5-year plan, for example. I gave an example in a video. I had a friend who worked at BMW at work. He told me that there was going to be a new model of BMW electric. He told me that it was only the 1st generation, then we are designing its 3rd generation right now. I mean, you know, people are always sitting like this. Companies, the future, that is, 5-year plans are known, friends. So, you know, for example, every time you tell us that my current director, for example, it shows the 5 years old thing. For example, look, these IPs of ours are over there, and I am designing IPs here right now. The entire company's entire ESML, we are designing IPs to be reused in FPGAs, And although there is a lot of backward compatibility work, we are doing this job. It is not an easy job. It is a difficult job. Challenging is something I love, but I love what I do. I am very satisfied with the team here. I mean, the team and the company I work with technically. But the 5-year plans are clear. You know what you're going to do. You know what will be absolute, where and when. You know that it will not be used. You know that the requirements are certain. You click on the requirements. This makes you incredibly comfortable to make a quality design. At the same time, what is technological? I mean, there is a very nice library here now. Is it okay? Perfect, of course, we are still developing. But the final versions of past designs have always been done for years. You know, version management of them,